Hi, hello, is this Doniala?
Yes, you can call me D.
Okay,
It's Danielle, but you can call me D.
Danielle. Okay, awesome. Hey, D. So this is Tommy Bryson. This call is being recorded and potentially uploaded. How can I help?
Yes, I love your show. I
Thank
love
you.
the content, um, and I just wanted to. I wanted some advice on budgeting as well as investing,
Okay.
and I was just hoping that you could assist me. I've been listening, so I'm a long time viewer, but I just
Mm-hmm.
thought that perhaps some one-on-one time with my individual circumstance would help.
Okay. Okay. So what is your circumstance right now?
At this time, I mean, I do several things.
Mm-hmm.
I live in New York City,
Okay.
and I do have a W-2 job,
Okay.
as well as I also rent and sell apartments, and I also rent rooms as well.
Okay.
Um, I'm collectively ending. I'm sorry. I'm collectively trying to cease all the debt that I have accumulated, which is not a lot.
Okay.
But I do have some small debts that I'm trying to get rid of so that I can make more and invest. So
So what's your income
I
right
was
now per month
per month, I think I'm at roughly about 55.
after taxes?
Let's see, after taxes, yes. Um, that's rough because I have my own business when it comes to the renting
And it
of and
fluctuates.
exactly, and also I own as well, so my accountant will look at either the losses, and I'm also a landlord.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so so he's going to take into account all those things for tax purposes.
So
So
let's
I
say you
think
make
it's
five
roughly
thousand
55.
dollars. Let's say it's five
Yes.
thousand, right?
Okay.
Let's go on the low end. How old are you, by the way?
52.
52. Okay, awesome.
Hmm.
All right, so now the first thing is okay, every budget has four walls. And the goal
Yes.
for a budget is basically to show you exactly where you are. If you don't know where you
Hmm.
are, you can't change your circumstances, right? Those four walls
Correct.
for a budget are basically called the first one is called shelter, right?
Hmm.
Because you need somewhere to stay. And the goal
Yes.
is to make sure that where you stay does not cost you more than 33% of your monthly income. The lower, the better. So right now where you live, how much does it cost you?
It's more than 33%.
How much is it?
Definitely. Right now, roughly, if we're just saying just shelter, it's at, I would say 34.
$3,400.
Correct.
So when you do some quick math, right? 3,400 divided by
Hmm.
5,000, low estimate of your
Hmm.
income. We're talking about that
Hmm.
68% of your income that's going towards
Yes.
shelter, right?
Yes, it is. Hmm.
Then we have, for example, utilities, right? Because
Yes.
what are those like?
They're pretty high, especially during the but also, as I mentioned, I am a landlord. So
Mm-hmm.
roughly, I would say sometimes it could be on the high end, it could be $800. On a low end, it could be 300.
Okay.
And
And by the way,
it depends. So seasonal. Hmm.
okay. So I'm guessing when you say you're a landlord, it means that you're basically you have a multifamily, you rent one, you live in
Yes,
one.
that is correct.
Okay. So your rent, although it is around 66%, like 68% on the mortgage, how much does it pay you?
Well, of course, during the pandemic, that's a whole nother story,
Oh,
and I have a significant amount of losses because
yeah.
I also rent to students. So those students,
Okay.
of course, packed up and left. However,
Yeah.
when they were here, I would say roughly this
Right now,
income is
what's going on
low.
right now? Right now, what's going on
Right
right now?
now, there's no income. So from
There's
going on
nothing. So
today,
it's just
there's
all
nothing.
you.
Correct.
Okay. And it's $3,400, right? On the mortgage.
That is correct. Hmm.
Okay. And when you do rent, like what can you expect from it?
When I do rent to them, of course, now with the pandemic still kind of here, I could possibly make probably 5,100. I would say I could possibly make 5,000.
5,000. So I'm guessing you rent some rooms out.
Yeah, they're college students and they room together, but it's a
Okay.
large duplex apartment.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question though, right? If you know
Hmm.
for a fact that right now maybe you won't have any of these students, why not potentially just rent to someone that's one like maybe stay like a little bit long term, like a year or so, to fix that issue?
That's a great idea. It's just that I prefer the students because I don't deal with other issues.
Yeah, but
They
right.
possibly will stay here. I'm
The
sorry.
possible what?
They will possibly stay possibly a year or more until they graduate.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do charge them ahead of schedule. So then what they do is they're paying per semester up front.
Okay. But again, right, that's what happens when you have like good economy, good numbers, all that stuff. Right now you don't have that. So you
Yes,
don't have the luxury to pick. But if you have
that's
the
correct.
idea that maybe in 6 months things will be back to normal, more students, all that stuff,
Hmm.
then just make a six
Yes,
month lease or a 12-month lease. In six
yes,
months,
that
you
is
kick
true.
you kick the person out. You have that option, but you need income in some way, right? But
That is correct.
$3,400, 68%. That's all on you. $800 utilities. What about groceries? By the way, you married? You have kids?
No kids, not
No.
married.
Okay. Now groceries.
So
How
I
much
don't
do you
have
spend
those
there?
additional. Roughly, I would say maybe
One what?
150 or 150, $150 or 150.
Okay, 150. And
Mm-hmm.
lastly, transportation. What is it?
Transportation is kind of high because where I work on the W-2 job, it is, and this job actually was during the pandemic. Because of the loss of income, that's the reason why I went for the W-2 job. I would say I have to pay a lot. I have to pay like $300 in transportation.
How do you get to work?
I take the train. I take the Metro North.
Metro North Unlimited plan is like maybe like $150.
Well, there's a monthly plan, and oh wow, I don't even know about that. But the monthly plan is 300. There's a monthly plan, but I'm not sure about the limited. You said there's a limited. Wow.
The
Okay.
monthly plan, the monthly unlimited. Where are you going? How far is this?
Oh, not far at all. It's just Westchester, Upper Westchester.
Westchester, and the unlimited monthly plan is $300 to go to your locations.
Yes.
That is a
Yes.
lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
a lot.
So right
I
here
mean,
off.
what's great about the W-2 is that I also get health insurance, so I don't have to. That's an additional expense that I don't have to put out $600.
Okay. Now right here off the bat, right? This is a bare bone
Hmm.
budget. This is not including your Netflix bill, your cable bill, your internet bill, all that extra stuff you actually have. Okay. Now just off the bat here, we have $3,400 for rent. I mean for mortgage,
Hmm.
$800 for utilities potentially.
Yes.
150 when it comes to groceries, which is great by the way, not bad. And then
Hmm.
$300 for transportation, which means you
Correct.
have bills of 40 well $4,650.
Yes.
It's a lot of money. So that means that
Yes.
even if you have like a and by the way, the worst scenario is you don't have any income coming from your side hustle, just a W-2 job, and then you'll be completely negative, upside down, right?
That is correct. But I am working on some other things to bring more money in. You know, so
How
I'm
much
doing some
cash do
other
you
things
have right now?
right now. From my business, I probably have 15.
15,000.
Hmm.
Okay. Are you investing right now?
Actually, I am not.
Great. Awesome. So we know how to talk about that because right now when you have debt and you have this much bills, you should not be investing. Now let's talk about the
Mm.
now the first
Okay.
thing is, right,
Yes.
before we get to the debt, let's talk about the debt first, okay? What's your debt like? What do you owe? Everything.
Let's see. On the home, 487.
Four hundred and
Let's
eighty thousand dollars in the home.
Yes, 487.
That's the balance left on it.
Yes.
What is it appraised to? How much is it worth?
Let's see. 2.7.
Wow. $2.7 million. Okay, great. Now, what else do you owe?
I owe taxes, for which I'm right now working that out with both, both state and IRS. So that's roughly about 40, but I'm on a payment arrangement. And in terms of smaller debt,
Do they charge you interest?
They do. Yes.
What's the interest rate on that?
The interest rate. Oh gosh, I don't even know what the interest rate is on this. I don't know. I'm so sorry. I don't know.
It's okay. So next
But
step,
it's
what else
pretty
do you
high.
have?
Okay, so the other debts that I have, other than taxes, I would say my and it's I owe 500, for which I'm going to pay that down.
500 and what?
8,500 for utility bill.
8,500 for the utility bill.
It's fast.
Yeah, past due balance. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're just running bill back on bills based. That's your big problem here. What else do you owe? Like credit cards? Anything else?
No credit cards. No credit
Okay.
cards.
So
I don't know any credit cards, and then the small amount, like maybe $dollars.
what was that?
Bringing my debt down.
You're cutting out a little bit. What was the last thing you
I'm
said?
sorry. Sure. And then I have a small amount of bills that, small things like some medical, which is about 2,000.
Okay, and then medical 2,000. Here's what it sounds like to me, right?
Yes.
It sounds like to me, Tommy, for a while, I just been trying to get some money from this property. All of a sudden things stopped completely, and then I fell behind and everything. And now I kind of feel like I'm drowning. Does that sound correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Because when you take a look at all this stuff, right, because the first step I usually ask people to follow is the get out of debt step. And usually all you have to do on that step is basically pay everything except the mortgage. But then in order to pay anything, you have to have a surplus of income. Now, the only way to have a surplus of income is basically, you need to have a job, right? Multiple jobs, but you also have to have management over your bills. Right now, because you have no tenants or anything like that, basically, you have this massive deficit, right? Because even if we said, for example, well, Tommy, I'm going to go ahead and grab my extra income. Let's say 4,650 are your bills. And let's say you have a really good month of $5,500, you only have $850 to actually pay towards these debts. So when you look at these debts, which is like 40,000, 8,500, what's the total there? 40. Let me see. That's around like 50,500 if I'm not mistaken. So when you look at that, 50,500. How long will it take you to pay that off? 50,500 divided by 890. I mean 850. It's going to take you 59 payments. And that's not including, for example, the interest you might be charged.
That is correct.
Now,
well, one of the remedies.
Go
one
ahead.
of the remedies that I was working on, because I had more debt than this, and I brought it down during the pandemic due to just doing more rentals during that period when they allowed us to do rentals. And so I've been bringing the debt down. But what thing I was going to do was do an OIC with both the state as well as IRS. So offering compromise just to get all of that out of the way.
Oh, I see. Okay. This is a tough situation. Now, the advice I try to give people is advice I would take. So
Got it.
if I am, for example, 52 years old, I have no money, no emergency fund, 2 jobs, but one is not secured basically because it fluctuates. And one patient doesn't pay me that much money, and I have all this stuff going on. The first thing is, there are several ways to do this, right? Way A is I consider, well, what happens if I sell this house? It's worth $1.7 million. I owe $480 on it. The market is red hot right now. So if I sell it, 1.7 million.
Yeah, it's worth 2.7.
Oh, you said 2.7. That's a lot of money, man. Congratulations. But if it's worth $2.7 million and I sell it, right? Because you're not really like going crazy because you have this massive asset right now, especially like in this market. Basically, I get to pocket $2.2 million, and then all my
Hmm.
problems are gone. Right now,
Correct.
that means with that $2.2 million, I can potentially say, well, I'm gonna go ahead and use that $2.2 million. Go ahead and wipe off all of my debt that I actually have, which means I'll still have around like $2.1 million, like a lot of money basically. And then with that money, I can say, well, what can I do with this money here, Tommy? What do I do with $2.1 million in Plan A? Well, the first thing is follow the steps all over again. Step A,
Hmm.
you get a debt. Step 2 is save up for emergencies. That means, for example,
Hmm.
3 to 6 months. In this case, you max it out to 6 months. So that way, if anything does happen, you'll be fine. Then you
Hmm.
start investing 15% into your retirement. But in this case, honestly, like, what's your plan? Because if you have all this money, for example, and you do sell this house, you can just potentially downsize to a house that costs 500K or 700K in that area. You pay well, not in that exact area because it's a very expensive area, but like in maybe like a lesser area, and you pay cash for that property, and now you have left, for example, pay 700K, you still have left, for example, $1.3 million. And with that $1.3 million, if you invested the correct way, and you're saying, well, I have $1.3 million after I paid off this house that I actually have, and use, for example, the 4% rule, which basically means you withdraw 4% from your investments. That way you don't run out of money before time. Well,
Hmm.
how much money would you get? Let's run the numbers here. $1.3 million. And you take
Hmm.
out, for example, 4% every single year. That gives you an income of $52,000 every single year before taxes. Divided by 12,
Mm.
that's around $4,333. But again, it's a different D here, because this D now, for example, has an emergency fund, has no debts, is not over here like going crazy over any bills. All that's taken care of, and is also
Hmm.
has a massive amount of money in investments and has a paid off house. So now if you have this income of 52K and you also have your other jobs, now your income is up to like around 100K, and you can just enjoy
Right.
your life a lot more. But now option B is, well, Tommy, I like my house. I'm not selling my house. Well, if you keep this
I,
house, right?
hmm.
The
Hmm.
big thing is basically, well, now I have this $2.7 million house, which I live in it, probably like a big house. It's just me. I keep the house. I try to negotiate with the IRS. They try to maybe like lower the amount, maybe lower my minimum balance. I get an extra job at age 52, which makes basically 3 jobs. And now I have to pay all that extra money towards this debt. Even at
Hmm.
that point, it'll take me, for example, 3 to 5 years to wipe off
Hmm.
all this debt with an extra job. Now, in 3 to 5 years, big sacrifice. Now I'm 57 years old. I still have my house, but by the way, I rented the house out even for 6 months or a year because you need that income. Obviously, it's too much
Hmm.
money for you by yourself.
Yes.
And when you do that, 5 years, you're debt free, everything except the mortgage. And now your next plan is to say, hey, all my extra income that I have right now, because I don't have any debt, anything crazy, I'm gonna throw it towards this house to finish it off as fast as possible. Now I have a paid off house. Well, I'm also investing, for example, like 10, 15%. Now, because you owe
Mm.
$480,000 on this house still, what are your
Hmm.
payments like again? You said $3,400?
Yeah, they're roughly about 34. Hmm.
Yeah, so let's say 34, yeah, $3,400. Let's say you can
Hmm.
pop let's I like to use the worst numbers possible because I like to be a worst scenario type of guy. Let's say the
Right.
most you get for this thing is like $1,500 a month, right? In rent. If you rent it to like this very nice family, it's gonna be there forever because they know the opportunity here. Well, now you're only paying $1,900, which means if I'm making $5,000, 1,900 divided by $5,000, worst scenario, it's still 38%. The housing
Well,
price. Go ahead.
let me just ask. So you're speaking about just the apartment or the entire house? You meant the apartment.
I'm saying you rent while you're trying to go through this whole plan, and I'm saying the only way it works is you got to get another job, and you
No,
got to
that's
use.
fine. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I will do that. I will absolutely do that. I just meant that when and now things are starting to pick up.
Yeah.
Normally, the most that I can make from that unit is probably. I mean, in the good times, it was 6,500. Now, because I'm going to have less students, it'll
But
probably be
again, we're
about.
talking about students, right? We're talking about the students part. If it does pick up, when will it pick up? Do you know?
Yes.
You don't. Okay,
In
what do
the
you know?
yes, the end of August.
The end of August. So now
Correct.
we're talking about August. That's 3 months from now. Hopefully it does pick
Hmm.
up. If you wanna, that's what, like 3 months.
Yes. hmm It's May. It's
I
almost
think
June.
there's an app. There's an app. It's called Roomy. Potentially, you can just get
hmm
some very short term leases with some people that just want a room for a short time. So that way you can have some type of income coming in some way.
Yes, and
The
there's
key.
also Furnish Finder for nurses.
Mm-hmm. I don't know
Yeah,
about that
that's another.
website there, but the big thing
Yeah.
is you need someone living there and you need an extra job. Now, again, you only have 24 hours in a day, and I'm big on health, wealth, love, and happiness. So I love peace of mind. Now, let me ask you a
hmm
question. What's up with this house? When did you buy it? Tell me the story here. $2.7 million.
Sure. Sure. So this is a family home that
Mm-hmm.
was purchased years and years ago for probably, let's see, it was like 150.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Wow.
my family's lived here for years, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So they've owned in the neighborhood and run businesses in the neighborhood, and they've been here since the late 30s.
Okay. The thing is,
So,
right? Here's the
mhm.
thing. So it's a great house. It's a great story. It's a very expensive house, and even once you're done paying it off, by that, okay, let's do a scenario here. Which option sounds better to you? Option A, where you sell the house, or option B, where you don't sell the house? Now, for example,
B,
if
of
you
course.
B, when you don't sell the house, okay.
Correct.
And I'm guessing it interests you because basically you can have that income coming in from that property, right? As long as
That is
everything's going
correct.
fine.
And eventually, I would like to, rent the entire house out, and I can get double digits.
Hopefully. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. In this neighborhood, eventually, yeah, that's what people, either upper maybe nines or tens, something like that.
Okay.
But that's of course down the line. I know.
Okay. The thing is that your entire plan only works if everything goes okay as far as like the renting thing. And if it doesn't, you'll be again upside down. So now if you go 480 on this property, let's say
Mhm.
the big thing, right? You got to pay the debt that costs you the most money,
Correct.
using the avalanche method. So if you get another
Yes.
job, you can add $1,000. You'll be done with that debt in 3 to 4 years or 5 years potentially. Once you're
Yes.
done there, the next step is you save for emergencies, right? When you save
Right.
for emergencies, next step is you start investing between 10 to 20% into your retirement. But that's
Mhm.
also assuming, for example, that if that's not rented, you can't even invest that much because again, it's 68% of your costs of what you actually make basically. Does that make sense?
Right, it does. But how I was going to remedy the situation was I was going to create another business in concert with my realty business,
What's your business
which
idea?
was sure the business idea is just painting apartments. Not
Painting
me,
a,
but
somebody
yeah,
else.
just yeah, creating, dispatching, marketing
When did you do
the
that before?
service
Have you ever
of.
done that before?
I have not. I have not, but I do. Service some big landlords.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my intention
Okay.
to
If
to
it if,
to deal with the, as you mentioned, with the expenses versus what is actually coming in. So
mm-hmm.
therefore, I would not have to go into a traditional job, which I already have, and
Yeah.
um,
Here again, my advice is going to be based on what I would do. If you want to try,
okay,
for example, the whole business thing on the side, if it makes you money, great. If it doesn't, you have to decide
okay,
what you're gonna do here because you need extra income. It's the only way it works. If you want to hold on to that house, it's the only way it's gonna work. Now, I understand the whole sentimental value behind a property, but I'm pretty sure your mom or dad probably wouldn't want you to be underground for any type of like material thing.
okay.
So it all depends on what you want to do here. Me personally though, $2.7 million, and you're telling me I can be fully retired any way I want to in the next like year or 2 years. I'd rather that 10
Mm-hmm.
times. You know?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to, yeah, it just makes sense, because if you're getting $52,000 in passive income
Mm-hmm.
from like some decent mutual funds, if you want to do that, if you want to do index funds, which is like very low risk in a way, and you
Yes.
can live off that. You can still have your job because you're still passionate about it in a way. I can tell by your voice. You can do all those
Yes.
things, and you don't have to worry about anything. And you can still have a house for cash because if the only reason you have this house is for income, well, I'm telling you a substitute to that income. And you can still
Mm-hmm.
have, and if you still want to get into real estate, you can get into real estate by buying, for example, rental properties for cash, right? but in maybe like a smaller market you can actually afford. But one plan
Hmm.
is faster, you're done faster, and you can actually like
Hmm.
get more properties also. The other plan
Hmm.
is you got to struggle here. Hopefully the business works out. If it doesn't, you got to get another job some way somehow, and you got to rent it out some way somehow. Now, if by August, God willing, everything's straightened up, you get students
Hmm.
all over the place, great. You have all this income coming in, which means your cost of living
Hmm.
is very low. I would grab
Yes.
every single dollar that I have and I would put it
Yes.
towards exterminating all of the debt except the mortgage. Once I'm done with all that debt, the next step is
Yes.
save for emergency 6 months. So this does not happen to you ever again. This way you have 6 months to catch your foot in, so it doesn't happen to you again. Then
Yes.
I go into investing that 10, 15, like 10 to 20% into my retirement, Roth IRA, 401k with my company, whatever it is, it's retirement. Now, lastly,
Hmm.
all the extra money I make while things are going good, D, very important to understand this, okay? Because if things were going this good for you for a long time, you could have been done with this house a long time ago, right? The plan is
Wow.
you try to pay it off as fast as possible. I understand depreciation. I understand the whole taxes thing when it comes to real estate. I want to worry about your security first. Okay, so my goal would be pay off this house as fast as possible. All the extra money that
Got
I
it.
have, I throw it there. 10, 15%, 10, 20% I put into my investment. That way I'm building wealth while I'm paying off this house. Potentially 8, 12 years from now, depending on how much money you actually make, you're done with this house. When
Yes.
it's done, you rent it fully, potentially make a lot of money, potentially you don't. It all depends. One plan
Right.
involves a lot of things going correct. One plan involves you taking advantage of a current market, selling it, calling it a day, and saying, you know what, I'm gonna pull my golden ticket right now.
Right.
Okay? It's all up to
Wow.
you. What do you
Yes.
think?
I really, since I've been listening to you, I do see this is your thought process, and this is mine as well. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
also leaning toward, not selling my home, because of what I was able to make before.
Mm-hmm.
And if I add more effort, things that I'm,
You cut out there, I'm sorry.
if I were able to into selling and renting, I can make even more. You know what I mean? Of course,
Mm-hmm.
that is,
But
it
sometimes let me
fluctuates.
let me let me tell you something, right? Sometimes
Hmm.
people get this mixed up. More isn't always better if it comes with more hassle and more risk, right? That's why
Hmm.
my whole thing is always. By the way, I make maybe like 250, $300,000 every single year, right? But when you make this type of money, you make it for a while, but then it'll go away. But I'm saving for the winter, that's why I'm investing so much money and getting things together,
Right.
buying a home, paying cash for all that stuff. But the goal is,
Right.
right? My definition of wealth is not you making, for example, 5 figures on this house every single month. It's you being comfortable saying, I spend less than I make. So if you're making 4,000 or 5K from properties and you only spend 3,000, 4,000, right? You're
Hmm.
solid. You're good to go. Because why do you want all this money for? To think about that, right? It's not always a dollar amount, it's how much do you actually need. If you can make 50K from one point, you can have a paid off home in the area, so you don't have to worry about housing anymore. And you can also buy, for example, potentially maybe like one rental property and pay it in cash and also make extra money from there. Now, if you're making $500-$600 in passive income, what are you gonna spend that money on? Because right now, the money you make, you spend it all on this property. Think about it.
Yes. Yes, I am. I do see that.
Yeah, so more money is more more money doesn't define your quality of life.
It does not. And there's not much of it right now.
Exactly. And if you let me tell you something, right? If you have a paid off home, think about this for a second. Now you
Hmm.
have no stress, the free time where you can cut back on work or whatever you want to do. You can say, maybe I want to go out there, whether you want to get a husband or you want to get a wife, whatever it is, or adopt a kid, whatever you want
Hmm.
to do. The answer is you have the time to go out there, socialize more, and put yourself out there also. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes,
And
it
when
does.
and when you're at that point, if you want to go on vacation every Friday, nobody cares because you can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do. I really do like your plan, and it's interesting
Mm-hmm.
because this was the plan that I had for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I know you would have picked the former rather than the latter, meaning the
Mm-hmm.
first, plan A versus plan B. But I
Mm-hmm.
do have that in mind, and that hence is why I have been working the way I have over the last
Okay.
year.
Just remember though,
So,
right?
mhm.
There's a quote. I think it's one of Dave Ramsey's books, and he says, there was this guy that was very heavy into like his whole like business or whatever, and he had
Mhm.
a lot of sales. So he has so much sales where he has so much inventory, and then he kept adding more inventory and more inventory and more inventory, and then one day, God just came and said, "Okay, it's time to go." He never got the chance to actually enjoy any of it. So it's the same thing with you, okay? Is health, wealth, love, and happiness. Make sure
Mm,
this year could be your last year. In 5 years, you could not be here. You never know what's gonna happen. Hopefully, you're here until you're 1,000. But just make sure your quality of life is it's the most important thing. You know what I mean?
yes, yes.
All right, all right,
Wow, this was an amazing conversation. Thank you.
all right, D. And by the way, these calls not like a one-time thing. If you want to call me back in August, September, let me know what happened, and yeah, that'll be awesome. Okay, have fun.
Sure. What do I do? Just DM you?
No, you don't DM me. You schedule another call right here. If you want to call me back tomorrow, you schedule another call, and I'll call you again. Okay.
Okay. Thanks again, Tommy.
All right. All right. Peace out, D. Have fun.
Thank you.
All right. Guys. Guys. Wow. 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 $2.7 million property. No husband. No kids. No anything. 2 jobs. No money in the bank. How crazy is that? Okay? And all the answers to your problem are in this property. But Tommy, my parents have lived here for centuries. People tend to define themselves by this legacy thing. The only legacy your parents leave behind is you in a way, and also expecting you to make good decisions. Now, you might say, Tommy, well, you're a sellout here. Because if you go ahead and sell this house when maybe in 5 years you could have it and make 10K per month, the answer is for what? Think about it for a second, right? Everything has to line up correctly for this lady. She has to get the rent she wants. She has to make sure she can actually pay these bills. She has to make sure she has, for example, another way of income, which means less time for her. Again, 52 years old, okay? Age is important. As you get older, your stamina starts to weaken. On top of that, as you get older, you don't want to just focus on work anymore. I love quality of life. Yes, I work a lot. 4 a.m., 5 p.m., I'm here. But 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., you won't see me here with a camera or any of this stuff. I'm with my family. I'm trying to talk to my friends. I'm playing a game. Quality of life is very important. So if you tell me, guys, okay, question here. You answer this question. You have a $2.7 million property that can fix all your problems by tomorrow if it sells, okay? Which probably will sell in this current market, okay? Market is red hot. You sell this property, $2.7 million. You can pocket all the money, pay the mortgage. You still have left 2.2 million, 2.3 million. You grab $50,000, $80,000. You pay off all the debt you actually have. Okay, boom. You still have 2.1 million. You grab that money because you want to live in a nice neighborhood. You buy a $700,000 property. You pay cash for it. By the way, the average millionaire does not own a property that's over 300K, by the way, or 400K. All right, so keep that in mind. So if you pay 700K for that property, you have left somewhere around like $1.3, $1.4 million, okay? Now, if you grab 400K and you say, I'm going to buy another property, rental property, pay cash for it. You grab the other $1 million, you put in the stock market, right? Into index funds, of course, because you want to have passive income for the future, but you have to have money there because it's like more diversified. Well, now you tell me, Tommy, I can make, by the way, average cap rate usually when you're renting out, when you're buying something, basically, let's say you put $40,000 and you want to make, for example, a measly 10% a year times 10%, that's 40K from that area. Divided by 12, that's $3,330 every single month. Again, this lady talks about income, but all her income has been going towards maintaining this property, nothing else. Okay? Think about that for a second. Property's a burden, honestly. Now you also have from the stock market the same amount of money coming in from that $1 million investment. So times this by 2. You have $6,666 coming in every single month. And not including, for example, her income. So now she makes, for example, $4K in her income, plus $4,000. We're talking about, for example, $10,666. Minus 2 jobs, minus the stress, minus the insecurity, plus a lot of time, health, fun, given, whatever you want to do. What would you choose? Okay, obviously I'm picking this plan. Or for example, by the way, this is all in the course of 1 year. 1 year if it sells. Or 5 years, you're finally done with all your debt. Then you last, for example, if everything goes correctly and you're trying to pay, for example, this $408,000, just divided by example by 10 years, divided by 12, you have to pay an extra $4,000 towards this property to pay it off in 10 years. Not including the actual cost, because basically she is renting over there, right, to other people. Well, now in 10 years, you have this property. And now think about this for a second. Think about it for a second, guys, okay? Now, 4 years later, you're debt free. 10 years later, you don't have to worry about the house anymore. 14 years. To get, for example, maybe the same $10,000 a month. For what? You see what I'm saying? 10 years now, she is 62 years old. Was stressed, obviously, for the past 10 years. Is that what I would do? The answer is no, honestly. That's not what I would do. That's why I would choose, for example, sell the house now and do what you got to do. Again, do not get burdened with the idea that my mom, my dad left me this house. This is her legacy. Their only legacy in life was you, what they taught you, and everything else. My kids, if you're watching this video right here, if daddy left you a house and you can potentially get out of all the debt in the world that you actually have, sell the house, the car, the watch, everything. I don't care, okay? As long as you're okay and you can basically build passive income for yourself to take care of yourself. That's the core idea. That's what legacy is. Legacy is knowledge, okay? And by the way, guys, lastly, 52, 30 years in the family, had this house for a very long time, and this house has done nothing but build any wealth for her whatsoever, okay? And by the way, she does have 15K, potentially save 1K, use the 14K to pay off the rest of the debt. But again, it's so much problems here. Because if this does not rent out, she's going to be upside down. That is what worries me the most, guys, okay? But comment down below and let me know, what do you think about this plan? The solution? What would you do? Comment down below, let me know. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And as always, like, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified. On top of that, also destroy the like button. On top of that, also, if you want to join me on my next call, schedule a free call, link down below. Calls are being restricted though, so get in while you still can right now. On top of that, follow me on my second channel called The Time Bryson Show, link down below also. Thanks for watching. And on top of that, another video here, click my face right here. See you guys tomorrow. And as always, peace. Wow, wow, wow.